everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm owner of Inspire Massage. I'm a body, mind, and wellness expert, and I use hands-on techniques as well as coaching to help people navigate their life, especially people who are sensitive healers and are ready to make a shift or need a little bit of assistance or a bump. So today, and every time we do this, I'm with Irma Francis, who is a spiritual coach, and she loves to help people navigate their bigger challenges. We work in tandem many times where we can talk with each other about what's going on to help people make great changes in their lives. And so today we're talking together on the topic of compassion. So this is part of the Are You a Healer series, and it's about compassion. Not only do you want it, but how do you get it if you don't have it? How do you get rid of it if you've got too much of it? And how to survive and work with compassion fatigue, which is actually a very common challenge for people who are in this field or who'd like to be a healer or take their gifts to another level. So today it's all about the topic of compassion. I hope you're able to join us. So please put whatever is a distraction down, because we think we're absolutely fascinating. And so turn off your phone, find a comfortable place, just sit back and relax, maybe have a cup of tea if you'd like, and take this time for yourself. Because when you get new information into your mind, you're able to change how you interact with the world. So really, a big piece of change, of transformation, is just relaxing and letting new information come in. And it plants seeds, and those seeds, then your subconscious takes them, and off you go. So this is one of the most transformative things you can do, is sit and be quiet and have some new insights and information come into your space. Feel free to share this with people if you'd like, as well as make comments or ask us questions. If we don't get to your questions on the live video, then what we'll do is we'll answer them either in the next video or on tomorrow's email. If you'd like to be part of our email list so you can keep up with healers and the great things that you can do, go to inspiremassage.com and sign up for the email list, and we'll make sure that you become part of our great tribe. And I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. So, as I said, I'm here with Irma Francis. Irma, do you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. The main thing I do is I'm a spiritual coach, and my focus is really in helping people make contact with their true self, their authentic self, what I call the soul. And my way of doing that is holding a sacred space for people, and mainly women, and never trying to fix, and just holding that sacred space. And when a person does make contact, if they haven't in their life yet, or they aren't aware of the difference between their conditioned self and their true self, once you make contact with that, it becomes your guide, your leading guide in your life rather than your ego. And that's the main thing I do, and I'm totally passionate about it. So,
isn't she great? I'm so glad that I'm working with her. Wouldn't you just love to be able to work with somebody as creative and intelligent as this? I'm so lucky. And you're very lucky, too, for being on this stream with us. So the topic of compassion, would you like to start with what compassion is?
Oh, sure. I love this this topic of compassion, because I think there's a lot of confusion about compassion. Mainly, the confusion a lot of times is not knowing the difference between compassion and empathy. And empathy is not that I'm telling our audience maybe things that they don't already know. It's just, our topic today, so I don't want to insult anybody by...
Well, they need to know where we come from when we talk about compassion. So when experts talk about compassion, we all have our own point of view, and it's good to have a baseline for which part of compassion we're talking about.
Exactly. So empathy is to feel with another person, And a lot of times healers, empaths, highly sensitive people, they kind of get stuck in the mode of empathy. And so they're feeling all the time. So they're picking up other people's feelings, other people's energy, and they might have a hard time switching that off.
That is so exhausting.
It's
when
very
you
exhausting.
feel everything. I mean, I know I've tried a million different things, from chamomile tea to shut it off, to valerian root, to Xanax, to a martini, to all sorts of things. We all have the tools as healers that we have used to try to cope with feeling so much all the time. And it's hard to go through a world when you feel everybody's emotions and they slam right into you. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what that's like? Oh, it's very hard. And I give you a lot of credit, everybody out there, for being able to even survive in such an overstimulating feeling sort of world.
Yeah, absolutely. But knowing the difference between compassion and empathy can help. Compassion is to suffer with another person, not suffer for. So when you're in a place of compassion, of course, empathy is something we would hope all human beings have. But as we evolve in our lives, we can find out that no, not all people have empathy. And that's what makes me so grateful for the healers in the world. Because not all people have the ability for compassion and a big heart. And so I'm extremely grateful for all the healers out there. So to have empathy, to be able to connect to what somebody else is feeling is of course, a wonderful, beautiful human quality. But as a healer or somebody in the profession of helping and healing, you want to be in a place of compassion. After you make that initial connection through empathy, acknowledging what somebody else is feeling, then go to the place of compassion, because you're there to lift up. And if you are if your client is there in a place of suffering and pain, and you go there with them, you can't help them. And so you want to be in that place of compassion, which is still a very beautiful, loving, caring place. And it's lifting a person up, holding them up while they go through the suffering and the pain and the discerning of what's going on for them. So that's one of the main things I wanted to say about compassion. What about you, Rita?
Well, I just had this discussion with somebody the other day on Facebook. I posted an article which was on grief. And actually the person who was writing the article, the headline was, everything does not happen for a reason. And they had a strong emotional point about this. And I love to post things which are a little bit more controversial and get people thinking. And the main thing that this article was saying was that you shouldn't walk into a situation when someone's grieving, whether it be a death or whether a job or a heartbreak or anything, and say, oh, dear, everything's happened for a reason. And the only reason I went that direction with it, of like, wow, this is a really great article, is because most people come from a place of empathy. And empathy is where they are feeling what the other person is feeling. And so what they do is they want to get rid of that feeling as fast as possible. They want to dodge it. They want to leave. They want to say something maybe that'll make them feel like they said something valuable, or to make themselves feel better. They're self-soothing.
Or fix it. Trying to fix the situation or the person. Yeah.
So approaching a situation in an empathic state of mind where you're feeling what's going on can, one, be overwhelming, and two, cause you to behave in a way which is more self-serving. And as healers, that's really not the direction we want to go. I mean, we get beauty and love and light when the person we're working with gets that as well. But healing takes it to another level, where we not only want to be with people when they feel good and try to make them feel good, but we also want to be with people when they're struggling, when they're in pain. We're trying not to cut short their pain or minimize it in any way by being so in such a feeling space, that we can't maintain. And compassion for me is the way that I get a little bit of detachment, because I remember this is not about me. And so I can feel something, I can take a step away, I can really look at what this person is going through without being too attached to what I'm feeling about it. Because if I have a real problem with something, it means that I've got an internal conflict. It means that I have a problem with it and I'm emotionally reacting. One of the things that I've done to develop compassion is when I've walked through a difficult situation and then I have learned how to navigate it. So when someone comes to me and they've got a problem, I don't feel the need to fix it right away, because I know the path that they're on and the process that they're going through is perfect. It's exactly what they need to be going through. And I know what's on the other side. It's like teaching a child how to write or to spell. If we write everything for them or spell everything for them, then they're not going to become capable adults. But if we know that they're going to have to struggle with it, they're going to have to go through the process, but on the other side, they get to read wonderful stories and novels, and they get to write wonderful stories and novels and share their heart and their soul in writing with people, then of course, we want them to go through this process, even if it causes them a lot of struggle. And so compassion is the understanding on the other side that what somebody is going through is perfect for them. And it's not up to us to try to get rid of it or fix it or solve it, because this is not our problem. This is what they're going through. And if we're in an empathic state where we're feeling so much, we make it our problem. And then we react to it and we have problems with it. And it's all about us. It's extremely self-serving.
Very self-serving.
But if you take the compassionate piece, you take that breath, that step back, and you actually see the person that you're working with. You see them as people with unique challenges and issues, and you can serve them then, and you can be there for them then. And to me, that's our goal as being a healer, is how can we help people, not only how can we feel like we're connected in, or make them feel better. It's not about how do we make them feel better, it's how do we support their process. So the end game, they feel better.
Yeah.
I know, a little bit of a monologue. So what are your thoughts on some of that?
That was wonderful. One of the many, many reasons why I love this woman.
Aren't I great? Yeah, okay, thanks.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Irma.
Oh, so powerful.
Okay.
I wanted to talk a little bit about compassion fatigue.
Okay.
Because, and just to add to what you were saying, whether you're a healer, an empath, a highly sensitive person, and you're in that profession, in that field, or you're just going about your life, I find it extremely insulting when somebody tries to take my feelings from me and fix it. I find that insulting.
And I've been on the receiving end of, trying to feel and have rapport. I've been like, Irma, are you feeling this? And she's like, oh no, we are not going there. And she's a great reminder to stay, let's keep a little separation here. Yeah. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a very caring thing to do. Mm-hmm. So compassion fatigue, a couple things I wanted to say about that. I've been blessed to have a wonderful mentor in my life for the past couple of years. Besides my beautiful friend Rita, I also have a male friend who's been a mentor. And he helped me with compassion fatigue, and because I'm such a big-hearted person, I can, like the saying goes, I can give the store away. I'll take it. It's all right. I can do that. And so I was talking with my mentor, and I was saying, I just have an overabundance of energy. I have so much love to give, and and going on and on and on. And I'd be there, in that state one week, and then the next week I would talk to him, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so exhausted. I could barely get out of bed. And he said, what happened to the overabundance of energy? I'm like, yeah, what did happen to it? And so we talked about that a little bit, and he said, it's great to feel like you have an overabundance of energy, but what if you had just enough? And that, when he said that to me, it's like the weight of the world dropped off my shoulders, and it's like, oh, just enough. What a concept. And that really, just that one interaction helped me find balance for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to do anything. You can just accept the fact that where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. And that sounds like a platitude a lot of times. I hate it when I hear stuff like that, so I can't believe it just came out of my mouth. But it is a self-soothing thing where we can tell ourselves, you know what I'm feeling is a result of the choices that I've made. And because it's a result of the choices that I made, of course, this is where I am perfectly. It's almost like karmic. And so if I don't like where I am, then perhaps I need to look at the things which caused me to be where I am. So karma is action consequence. So if I'm super high, it's a result of the choices that I've made. If I'm super low, it's a result of the choices I made as well. And instead of, judging I always need to be high or always need to be low, we sort of say, okay, what do I need right now? Where am I at right now? And what choices can I make today or tomorrow that will kind of keep me at the level of energy or love that I want? And so my external vision of just enough matches my internal vision of just enough. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times our expectations get in our way. And when we can match how we want to feel with the karmic, choices that we've made of how we are feeling, and they match up better, then we're actually able to have a little bit more compassion for people because our internal conflict is dialed down. So we look at what choices are we making that makes us feel this way or be in this space. It's just enough. We have exactly what we need. And is there anything I'd like to do differently in order to get myself to a different space? So if you're suffering from compassion fatigue, you have to ask yourself, do I enjoy this experience? And if you don't enjoy this experience, you need to start problem solving what choices that you made that got you to this space. It's not right or wrong. It's just your preference. It's just this is how you prefer to feel. Your external world matches your internal world.
Yeah. That's,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it made total sense. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Made total sense. And that kind of goes along with, talking about compassion fatigue, the real need for healthy boundaries. And our topic today isn't healthy boundaries, but I think we're going to cover that in the future.
Okay.
But to think about that, think about having healthy boundaries, and because it's a lot easier to have healthy boundaries than to get in a place of resentment that you have overgiven of yourself, and now you need to play catch up, and try and recover from that. That in itself can be exhausting. And so, yeah. I wanted to tell a little story that I always relate to the difference between empathy and compassion and why it's so important. And that story is, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, but I just love it. And I remember this when I'm dealing with my clients, but also just in life in general. And that's the story of the caterpillar. And, this very compassionate, loving, big-hearted person comes along and sees the caterpillar, and it's just starting to break out of its cocoon. And out of the goodness of their heart, they want to help it. So they take a stick, and they're trying to help the caterpillar out of the cocoon. But when they do that, the caterpillar never gets to turn into a butterfly, because what makes a caterpillar become a butterfly is the struggle within the cocoon. And they have to build up those muscles on their own to break out of that cocoon. So that's something I always remember when I have this kind of desire to reach out and help. There's a good balance between helping too much and standing back and letting someone go through a struggle to build up their muscles. So I just love that story in connection with compassion today.
And I love it because I actually used to raise butterflies, and they'd come out of the chrysalis, and it's the struggle and the pumping that takes all the fluid from their body and puts it into their wings so that they can fly. And we learned that, you know, by raising them, that if you helped them at all, then their wings ended up not shaped right, and they couldn't fly because they didn't puff out and spread out. You have to get everything that's been stored inside of you out into a bigger container. Yeah. So yeah, it is beautiful, and it's sad when, you know, they don't turn out quite right, and that's when we end up fatigued because, you know, do we deal with the struggle or do we deal with the after effects of enabling them? I mean, I don't know how many of us have enabled people in order to make ourselves feel better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it temporarily fixes what's going on. We're like, okay, I'll help you so that I don't have to sit here with your struggle and your pain.
Self-serving again.
Mm-hmm. It's self-serving absolutely again. So, yeah, how much is helping people really a self-serving sort of thing? Now, compassion for me, I don't always like compassion. I like empathy and I like compassion, and I like to choose which one that I have at which time. Mm-hmm. Compassion allows me to see you as a beautiful, unique human being that's perfect just the way that you are. And wouldn't we all like to look at the world that way somehow? Empathy is where I actually plug into somebody. It's almost like plugging myself into an electrical socket. And that is a rush. Because now two become one, and we're having this synergistic journey into, you know, other dimensions, and it's wonderful. It's one of the things I love about my practice, and so I choose, depending upon what we're doing, whether I have compassion or whether I have empathy. So when I'm talking to somebody, typically I'll have compassion because then I can honor that they are separate from me, having their own separate experience. And then when I shift into the bodywork piece, then it's the two of us on this crazy journey, you know, into colors and lights and channeling and mediumship and animal spirits and everything else that comes up. And it's them and me together. And so there isn't one that's better than the other. You get to pick and choose which one you have. And so if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, compassion gives you that distance. And if I can't have compassion, sometimes I'll start with pity. I don't like pity at all. Yeah. But sometimes I'm in desperate straits where I'm too engaged or caught up in the problem, and I need to start with the first step of pity. I feel sorry for you, that you're having this struggle, that you don't like your life, that nothing's working out for you, that you're in pain, and that you're suffering.
Is that the same as sympathy? Pity and sympathy? Do you think
I don't know. I mean, it's pity to me always has a really negative connotation to it. Like, I feel sorry for you, and clearly I'm better. Yeah. You know what? Pity to me feels like it's a power struggle. Like, I'm placing myself above you. I feel sorry for you. Whereas sympathy to me seems like I feel bad that you're going through what you're going through, but I certainly don't think I'm better than you. Sympathy to me seems more equalizing. Like, I know what you're feeling, but I'm not going to plug into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's almost like as I'm listening to you, like there's different energetic levels of being able to connect with people, and maybe pity is somewhere, you know, towards the bottom, and empathy and compassion, and even beyond compassion is probably unconditional. Which, as human beings in relationship, we if we have connections that are unconditional, be grateful because it's a rarity.
Yeah. I definitely see those as layers, and I take the judgment away from it. You know, I try to take as much judgment away from the human experience as possible. Pity exists. I don't know why pity exists, but it exists. So I have to learn how to live with it, and I have to learn how to be with it. And for me, it's a back pocket, save my butt from getting sucked into something that I'm not ready for yet. So if I'm not ready to have an emotional experience, I'm not ready to refeel something, I'm not ready to go through this journey with you, and I need some serious space right now until I can get my head and my heart back, in a good space, I'll use pity. Pity is a tool. All right, I feel sorry for you. You're over there, I'm over here. It gives me some space. Knowing that I don't want to stay in pity too long. And then I'll go to a little bit closer. All right, I can have some sympathy. I can care about you without plugging into you. And then compassion of, I'm here with you. I'm sitting here with you. And then empathy, which is, I am you, and let's go on this ride.
Yeah. Something I wanted to say when you were talking about when you do make that shift into empathy with your clients and you plug into them, I've been on the receiving end of that with Rita, and oh my God. And that is the beauty of seeing someone that has been in the field as long as you have been, because you know how to work with that energy. You know how to hold your own while you're plugging in, and it is a beautiful, beautiful healing. Wonderful experience. I wanted to add to compassion, and specifically towards healers. Healers, empaths, and highly sensitive people, because I think they're kind of are all connected. That I'll just say healers. I'll just use the word healers, and you know that I'm also meaning empaths and highly sensitive people as well. We tend to be visionaries, and so we're able to, in a way, see the world or experience the world through that place of soul and not ego, and that makes us great visionaries.
Absolutely.
I mean, it enables us to see the whole picture of things, and so we're multi-talented because of that. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that that healers have this this sense of being a visionary. And one of the reasons I thought of that is, I'll just share my own experience. At a really young age, I woke up to what I call my soul. And I thought everybody had this experience. Just like if you need glasses and you can't see things clearly, you think that everybody sees the world out of focus because you don't know any better. That's, you know what I mean?
I'm sure that everybody in the audience knows exactly what you mean, because we end up having these powerful, intuitive, connective, empathic experiences, and we think that everybody feels that way, and we don't. We walk around thinking we're in a world of zombies, and we kind of are. Do you know what I mean?
We kind of are. In a world where, and I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sound condescending, but healers, visionaries, empaths, highly sensitive people, they might be more awake.
Okay.
More awake to life.
More aware.
More aware. Aware is a good word. And that takes away the being condescending. Yeah.
I would agree. We tend to be more aware. But that's why we're doing this video. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about compassion? Does anybody have any challenges that they deal with compassion out there, that they struggle with, or that they love or they don't love? Now, I remember you talking not too long ago. Oh, no, it wasn't you. It was one of my favorite, besides Irma, it was one of my favorite mentors. And he used to take the word compassion and break it into two. And for him, he kind of took a more tantric route of where healing is the coming together of the male and the female of the self, and it can actually be a very passionate, sensual experience. And so he would take compassion and take out the passion and connect it with that sensuality. And so compassion was something that wasn't a kind of a meek, mild-mannered emotion. It actually was a very sensual and sensory-based and passionate sort of emotion. Compassion, was all about this rich experience of reliving, perhaps what someone else is going through. And that's part of it. Compassion is, for me, when I can look at someone, I've been through the experience, I know what the experience is, I know how hard it is, I'm remembering things, memories will come up and words and visions and my experiences of what they've gone through. And so I can give them compassion. So compassion isn't, like sympathy of, I don't know what you're going through, but it seems like it's really hard, to compassion, which is, I know exactly what you're going through and it is really hard and I'm feeling this as well. And a good healer is able to hold that space and able to share the insights and the wisdoms that they received from going through that. So it's a triggering. When you're in a space of compassion, you're also being triggered, because everything that surrounds that topic that they're talking about, whether it be divorce or abuse or heartbreak or inner struggles or their own demons or their shadow sides, I can look at them and I'm re-feeling all of that on some level. And so compassion is a very integrative, coming together, male, female, feminine, masculine energies in a very passionate way. Beautiful. So if you think compassion is, some milky, milquetoast sort of thing, you're completely wrong. You're in compassion when you feel what's going on from your perspective, and you see the other person as well. You haven't joined your two separate experiences that are walking next to each other on the path.
That's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
I'm sure all of you, when you stop and think about it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Does that make sense?
I wanted to add two other things about compassion. I got distracted with my with sharing my story of that early soul awakening and thinking that everybody had that. What that did, it kind of started my life from the place of crown chakra, and coming into the world that way, where most of us had the experience of starting at the root chakra of fear and security and all that, and working our way up to the crown chakra and opening up from there. I had kind of the opposite experience, and I thought everybody did. So I kind of danced through life thinking, wow, life is so wonderful, beautiful. And when I would come in contact with a human being that was hurtful, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, did they not get the memo? What's happening here? So I was in this place of absolute truth, which maybe a lot of healers have that kind of experience. They're connected in that way. And so what I had to do was I had to learn about relative truth. So I had to work my way down to fear, and so I could relate in a very empathetic way to the rest of humanity, because I guess it's a rare thing to have that experience at a young age. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But I wanted to mention that, to be aware of the differences between absolute truth and relative truth. And I think in the place sometimes of compassion, especially the male spiritual gurus, kind of are in that place of absolute truth, which is unrelatable. Mm-hmm. It's unrelatable. Mm-hmm. It's not very warm sometimes. Mm-hmm. So there was that, and there was also this experience that I have with clients quite often, where they'll come in and there's an understanding and a recognition that they're in kind of a denial place of their pain. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. It's all good. Everything's unfolding as it should. But as a professional in that field, you want to be really careful. It's kind of like when somebody's in pain, and if they're in denial and they don't know it, they have a wound or many wounds. And on top of that wound is our flesh and bone, which is kind of like the Band-Aid. And as a healer, a professional, you never, ever want to rip somebody's denial off. You never just want to rip that Band-Aid off. You want to recognize it. You want to understand that there's wounds underneath that, and create a safe, sacred place for them, and slowly start to lift off that Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm. Through relationship.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. When you look at people as if they're in process, not as if there's anything right or wrong or good or bad, They're simply in process. And when the more life experiences you have, and more processes you go through, the better you'll be able to recognize it in somebody else. So if you try to take them to the place that you are, it can cause all sorts of crazy things. It can cause healing crises. It can re-traumatize them. Really, they're just on a journey. They're on a path, and you're there to assist them in any way that you can to help them take whatever next step that they want to take. Because I think that the message always, whenever in any healing environment, is it's not about you. It's always about the person that you're working with, where they're at, what they're ready for, and where to go with them next. And so communication is so key to keep you from getting into compassion fatigue too.
Yeah.
Because if you think you need to be giving XYZ, and the other person is resistant to it because they aren't ready for what you want to give them, then you're going to get exhausted. Because it's like running, on a wheel and not getting anywhere, and then you get frustrated and angry and resentful because you clearly see what they need to be doing, but they're not doing it. And so when you try to impose what you think someone else needs to do, you are going to get exhausted. That's the lesson for you. So if you meet people where they're at, what they're ready to talk about or ready to work through or ready to learn, then you will not get exhausted. If you try to make it about where you think they should go and proving yourself to them as a healer or proving to yourself that you're a healer, look at the miracles that I created because I could see clearly what you needed to do and I did it for you. I'm sorry you had a problem for the next year because you were re-traumatized, but I knew what needed to be done. It's actually, yes, it's very sad that the person you're working through is going through, but it's also sad for you. Yeah. Because you're going to end up exhausted, giving and giving and giving and giving, and feeling like you're not appreciated and not valued. And so when you give simply at the level that someone else is ready and wanting to receive at, then the energy goes back and forth. So one of the ways to curtail getting exhausted is to not give more than the other person wants. Don't try to give more than they're looking for. And so if they're looking for problems with a sore shoulder, work on the sore shoulder, and then all of the other stuff will naturally evolve. The trust and the communication and the energy movement and all of that. So as a healer, if you want to stay healthy, don't impose yourself on anybody else. It's way too exhausting. I had that mentor again, the one who loved compassion. He always said, stay in your purple. And what that meant was envision a purple aura around you and stay in that space. Don't reach out of that space because that's when you're going to end up with challenges and troubles.
Wow. That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What I heard you saying, which is so, so true, and something I'm aware of, whether I'm working with a client or just in my life, is never force anything. Really. I mean, it's worked for me. Anytime that I have tried to push the river of life, it does not work out well.
And we've all tried that, yeah.
Because there's this natural rhythm and this natural flow to healing. There really is, and it's quite beautiful. So that was one thing. There was something else I wanted to say, and it's skipping my mind right now. So go ahead, Rita. I'll think about it.
Okay, I can always come up with with something.
Yes, she can.
So, anyways, our focus today is making sure that you can stay open to compassion, what compassion is, as well as not getting compassion fatigue. Compassion isn't always the answer. As I said, sometimes compassion is too overwhelming and too much, because if your memories and beliefs and ideas are coming up and you haven't sorted through them yet, then they'll overwhelm you. Compassion isn't always the answer. Sometimes, as I said, I have to start with pity.
Yeah.
I have to start with, you need to be over there and me over here. But then I usually can't help them. If I'm in a pity place, then I'm not doing a really good healer job, and I need to refer them out to somebody else. If I feel sorry for somebody, that's my cue that that I'm not the right person for what they need to go through, for the journey that they're on. If I can have compassion, that is my cue, because it means that I not only understand what they're going through, but I can keep a distance and honor their sacredness in their experience. So compassion is one of the best healing places to be in, except for, empathy, when you plug it and go on a magic carpet ride.
Try it, you'll like it.
I know, it's a lot of fun. But if you can't be in those spaces, then you need to refer them out or help them find somebody that can help them through it. Or say, you know what, I'll work with you in like a week or two. And it gives you a chance to work through, process through, talk about, get the experiences that you need to resolve that inner conflict, to make peace with whatever came up with you when you wanted to say, you know what you need to do? When you feel that way, when you feel sorry for somebody and aggressive, like you're trying to push them, that is your cue. Yeah. That, wait, something isn't quite right, and I need to re-examine this and reflect on this before I can come back into a healing space.
I remembered.
Okay, good.
So, I'm 62, so give me a little space here for that, senior moment.
Absolutely.
Can anybody relate to senior moments? You saw me experience a senior moment. So the thing I wanted to say was about codependency.
Okay.
And as a good healer, if you are codependent in any way, you want to deal with that, because you can't really be a really good healer if you're codependent. And to me, there's a very simple way to define what codependency is, especially in the healing profession. You want to prepare yourself when you go into your sessions, and how you prepare yourself is really getting in touch with your own inner world and asking yourself, are you at a place where you are overflowing? Mm-hmm. It's that overflow that you give to the client, because if it's not an overflow, it means you're wanting to get something from them. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's super, super important, if you haven't done it already, to understand what codependency is. And that's a wonderful way to explain it, especially in the healing profession. You have to give from an overflow, because otherwise, if you're giving from something that's not quite full, you're wanting to get instead of give. And to be a healer, you have to be in a place of giving without getting something in return in that particular moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you need to have compassion for yourself.
Yes.
You need to recognize whether your well is full or empty, and not give from an empty well or a depleted well. So compassion, as we talked about karma and choices and action consequence, compassion has to start with yourself. It has to start with filling your own well, because you will not be as present and not be as good at what you do if your well isn't filled. If you're tired, your fiber isn't good, you're dehydrated, you didn't get enough sleep. If enough of those things are on the scale and your well is empty, then you don't have as much to give to somebody else. One of my best pieces of advice to people is you need to take care of yourself and have compassion and love for yourself, because if you're tired or run down, you now become a burden on everybody else and a struggle. When I'm struggling with things in my personal life, I notice that the energy shifts slightly with the people that I work with, because now it's usually people that I've worked with for a while, so we've got a really great relationship. But for a while, it becomes about me. They become my person for me to talk to. And I'm okay with that too, because it's all about relationship. And they learn as much from giving me their wisdom as I learn from giving them mine. And so if your well is empty, keep in mind that the people that you're working with might have a lot of great wisdom, and that they're sharing that wisdom with you helps them find their own answers and remember where they're coming from. So healing is not about here I am and here you are. Healing is about we're on an equal level. And so if you check in with yourself and you're empty or depleted, you can either, one, do something to fill up your well, two, not work with someone, or three, turn the experience into a joint synergistic healing experience.
Good point, Rita.
And they'll get another thing. So there's no judgment about the fact that your well is empty. You get to just choose how you get that filled.
Yeah, very good point, because it's certainly not that as healers we're superhuman.
Right,
We're
not at
going
all.
to get depleted, and we're going to have to practice self-care. But it really is a true statement, I believe, that you can't truly love another person without loving yourself first.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So have love and compassion for yourself first, and that will give you more than enough to give. And then you'll radiate like a beacon in the night. It's really wonderful when we're filled how much we can give to other people and how much people want to give back. So I don't think we've got anything else for today on compassion.
No.
Okay.
We can talk a little bit about next week's
Great.
topic.
Okay. What's next week's topic?
Which I think we agreed on being authentic.
Wonderful. I like it. I like being authentic. So we will put on an event where you can see when we're doing it and what time. We'd love it if you could join us. And if you are interested in becoming part of our tribe, go to inspiremassage.com, click the link, do you want answers to your problems here, and give us your email. Because we try to make sure that we take very good care of the people that are part of our community and part of our group, so that you feel you always have resources available and options and solutions and help to help you be the best healer that you can be for yourself and for other people. So inspiremassage.com, go over there right now, give us your email, and send us any questions or thoughts or ideas you have, and we'll make sure we answer them on the next video or the next email. So we hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. From our hearts to yours.
Bye. Thanks.